Hello and welcome all to the ninth episode of Sportscast, where we delve into the minds of sports individuals in the sports space and sports people, sports persons, entrepreneurs, innovators, etc., etc. Today, I have someone actually very interesting. Obviously, been curating interesting people till now, but today is somebody I go back a long way with, collaborated with over many things. And I think even though the Bridge article says he started doing this when he was 18, or rather he was diagnosed when he was 18 and started cycling and became a triathlete. I think at around the same time. We've been collaborating quite a bit over the last few years as well. So Aditya Mendonca is who I have with me today. Aditya, thank you so much for coming in, man. Means a lot for all the people who are tuning in, listening into this. So I'll jump right into this. I came across the article on the bridge, right, which actually talks about you being a diabetic triathlete. So, for the purpose of
Mhm.
our viewers, who is a diabetic triathlete, or rather, what does a diabetic triathlete do?
Hey, Abhijit, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's nice to be on the other side for a change. Um, and so I've been diabetic for the past 8 to 10 years. I think I really got scared in 2016 and then again in 2019 about the gravity of being a diabetic. And it's not an easy journey, as most people who have friends who are diabetic, relatives, fathers, mothers, aunts, uncles, it's a difficult space to be at. However, if you've got the right friend support, if you've got the right peer circles, right family support, actually let's start with family support since we're all under lockdown for like, I don't know, I think it's the fifth week or sixth week in Karnataka, I've lost track. But yeah, it's quite intense. So a triathlete is someone who takes part in endurance sport across three different disciplines, where you swim, you cycle, and you run. You typically cycle on a road bike, with where the handlebars are bent down, like something like this. And I
Right.
mean, this is indoors, but so you're breaking the video gas. And then you also run. So you have different distances. The most common or the most important and well-known version of a triathlon globally is something called the Ironman race. And you've got a half Ironman and you've got a full Ironman. I'm currently training for my first ever Ironman, which I couldn't take part in last year in Antalya in Turkey. But I'm hoping this year, once I get my second dose of the vaccine, I can probably complete there in October.
Right. Okay, so that's interesting. But it's actually you say I was reading the article and it said you were diagnosed when you were 18, right? So
Yeah.
and obviously now you're preparing for Ironman and all of that. How much of it is actually between the years? It takes a lot of mental strength as much as physical strength to actually be able to push yourself. So, just take us through the journey of actually from where you started to become to actually where you are right now.
Okay. I'll try and keep that super short. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting space. So I wasn't really an athlete growing up. I think I played tennis occasionally between sixth grade or seventh grade till about ninth grade, and then sports kind of took a beating. I think football was there in 11th and 12th because I mean football's football, but
Right.
I was never really a serious player to part in it as a team sport. We just play
Right.
around for fun. And then somewhere around much later in life, post undergrad, I think when I was 23, I started off a movement that took people night cycling around Bangalore. And then that's where the bicycle came back into my life. And also around that point, after a lot of traveling and things like that, I put on a lot of weight. So obviously the bicycle was my first go-to place rather than joining a traditional gym. And then from that point onwards, and that was like your typical mountain bike, right? And so when I walked into a bicycle shop and I looked for a cycle. Luckily, I had some great friends. Huge shout out to Ritwik Berman, who guided me in the right direction. And I was actually quite shocked because like the cheapest bike he was recommending was like 16,000 rupees in 2013, which seemed like a lot of money. And I had to save up for like 2 months before, I mean, a couple of months, maybe 3, 4 months before I could think of swiping that much on a bicycle and still have money later, right? So that was the start in terms of bicycling. And then I was sitting on the sidelines, and I think about 2015, 16, there was something called the Tonur Triathlon, and Tonur Kere is a lake outside Melkote, outside Srirampatna, close to Mysore. And it's the first time ever I had of course, seen people in front of me randomly jumping into a lake, cycling in a village, running like mad people. But it was fascinating to see it. And then from sitting in the sidelines, and then 2016 also, thanks to Aftab Harun and Varun Barira, I managed to start swimming first at a friend's apartment pool, because my apartment doesn't have a pool. And I think most people's apartments in Bangalore or in any city don't have access to a swimming pool. So, it was a real luxury to start swimming with them or at a membership club as a guest and things like that. And then as we started swimming, of course, when you swim with friends, you swim for like what, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Yeah, and you're not really swimming, right? You'll probably go, let's say a pool, an average club pool is 25 meters long. You'll probably do 2 lanes, 3 lanes. You'll keep talking to each other at each end. And that's not really swimming. But you get to boast to everybody that, hey, I went out and I swam and stuff like that. And I think 2016, when I was in the US, I learned of a smartwatch, right? And this is when something as a Garmin, it's a later model that I picked up, upgraded to, but I decided to buy a watch that tracks your steps, that tracks your sleep. I mean, who knew I'd jump into endurance sport? And then that's where the journey in terms of the cycling had started at some point, but it was never endurance cycling, though a couple of times I think some friends, decided to say, let's cycle to Mysore. And come to think of it, why on earth would we want to torture your body cycling for like 6 hours, 7 hours from Bangalore to Mysore on Mysore Road? Just terrible, all that traffic and things like that. But I tried it out, and it was fascinating that, it's possible to push your body.
Right.
You stop like 6, 7 times at chai shops, eating banana, eating biscuit. All the stuff is terrible. The banana is good for you. Everything else is terrible. But I had to, unless you push yourself or put yourself in a position where to try something new, who would know? I mean, you don't know, I don't know, anyone else doesn't know whether it's possible for anything in life that way, not just get on a cycle. And then, so that was the journey. But then I think 2017 was an eye opener for Nisha Malik. Another shout out, our very own Olympian from Bengaluru. She represented India in 2000 in Sydney. So, and Nisha has always been very entrepreneurial, and I think she's been running a lot of swim schools to learn how to swim for many, many years now. And there was an announcement that she was taking over the Kensington pool in Alsur, and that was a 50-meter pool. So again, growing up, 50-meter pools and stuff, that was like, unless you want to train for the Olympics or your college team or your school team, that's the only time you ever really went to a 50-meter pool.
Right.
And so I landed up, and like any coach, she said jump in at the deep end, which obviously I didn't want to do because that pool is deep, 16 feet on the deep end. So I signed up. I signed up for a basic class, and she said, or the coaches under her said, "Oh no, we put you in the advanced batch." So I spent So the initial no-brainer was I signed up for a weekend class, which I realized 2 weeks later was a terrible thing to do because you're only swimming on Saturday and Sunday. And then Monday to Friday, you're not swimming. So unless you practice every single day or at least 4 days a week, and we've seen that with theater, right? With the PLC and stuff, unless you practice every day with a group of people, you're not going to get it. You can sit at home and pretend to practice. That's also great. But in terms of a sport to learn a new skill, and I think swimming should be made compulsory in India for everybody to learn at a very young age. But anyway, so that's where swimming started. And here's the joke, right? What I had no intention of doing was after I signed up for that, I went and signed up for the advanced thing because I like swimming so much. And 3 months later, I heard about another race, the Thonnur Swimathon, which has become a big passion over the years. I think since then, from 2017. Imagine I've never swum in a lake, right? I used to be scared of this swimming sea, forget swimming in a pool. And here I am going to jump into a lake. There's no safety device, there's nothing. You're going to swim 500 meters out and 500 meters back. There are people on kayaks and stuff, so that way it's safe, but mentally it's a lake, right? There might be snakes, there might be, I don't know, a crocodile.
Right.
So I just decided to jump in. I said, I'm smashing 2 kilometer swim. What's 1 kilometer going to be like? And my goal was to just attempt it. I didn't really care about, I wasn't training to be a podium finisher, but I just wanted to complete it. And little did I know, I realized I came out in 28 minutes, which was insane for my first ever competitive swim. And I really liked that process. And then a big shout out to all the coaches at Nishamlis Academy for getting me through that fear of making a float. Now I understand the process behind all the drills. And then here's the funny part. There was somebody I had read about in a magazine, and coincidentally, his elder brother, who's a doctor, who's a well-known neurosurgeon, lives like 5 buildings behind my house. So the youngest brother apparently lost, I think, close to 50 kilos on a bicycle, and which is in like 2 years. And his name is Vivek Batija. So I actually landed up at one of Bangalore's well-known bicycle races called the Bangalore Bicycle Championships as a spectator. I was not yet ready to get onto a bicycle. I didn't have this bicycle, and it was fascinating. So I did that. Got in touch with Vivek. Somehow brainwashed him. I don't know. I think I just ate his head. And somehow brainwashed him, and then I realized he's his family friend's son and things like that. That's how it is. And signing up, wasn't really my coach, but bugged him enough to start bicycling. And then I think 2019, I think he took me to a bicycle store. We found a bicycle that matched the colors of my shoes. I was quite an ego trip there because I liked wearing red shoes and I wanted a red bicycle. So we bought a red bicycle. And I think it was fantastic to buy like a bicycle. And then came the journey of saying, okay, now I know how to swim. I can cycle a bit. I'm not a pro or anything like that. And I can run, but let's try merging all three and get into what I first saw at Thonnur, which was triathlon. And that's what I did. And I started training for the basic local race, which was Thonnur. And that was insane because the same year that I bought the road bike, I had collaborated with 2 other friends and we did a relay race at Thonnur. So another friend, I swam. Unfortunately, we lost because I did an extra lap. Another friend cycled and another friend ran. It was insane, right? It was like a relay. Quite a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the 3 of us had not trained for the race. So it was going to be an adventure, and it was, but good stories to share. And then that's the journey of how I decided to be a diabetic athlete. But so in the diabetic world, there are 2 kinds of diabetes: type 1 and type 2. I'm type 2, where my body produces a certain amount of insulin, but not enough. So then I have to take pharma tablets, and so I'm on metformin, and I take it 3 times a day. It's quite intense. That's been the journey so far, but the whole reason why I call myself the diabetic athlete is I want to inspire our generation, a generation above, a couple of generations above, and of course the next generation that's coming into diabetes, right? That anything is possible. Yes, we all suffer from a chronic, I won't call it a disease. It's if you change your lifestyle, which I've been trying to, and I think the lockdown's given me another renowned opportunity to try and do this. where you stay
Right,
at home.
right, right.
And yeah, so that's the journey so far of being a diabetic athlete.
Right. So I find it very interesting that you say you want to inspire people, and also by taking up something like triathlon, because all the three aspects of triathlon are actually endurance based. You have to use your body, you have to burn cardio while you run, while you swim, and while you cycle as well, right? But
Right.
if you have to bring it all together, right? I mean, is this something that you would advocate to people who are diabetic, irrespective of the age? Would you advocate, say cardio-based exercises to somebody who has diabetes?
Well, first, please listen to your medical practitioner. I'm not a trained medical practitioner. Um, the doctor is the end person who can
Yeah.
recommend what you can do and
It
what you
goes
can't do.
without saying, really. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But then once you get the okay from your doctor, diet is everything.
Right.
I am saying this, but yes, diet is everything. I am predominantly vegetarian, so I do have a protein deficiency, which I'm still trying to figure out. I have been to a whole bunch of nutritionists, and they were all
Okay.
great. I think at some point I started cheating a lot, so obviously the nutrition didn't work out at that point.
Obviously, yeah.
But yeah, so getting into triathlon is not easy. It's not tough. It's all a mental game up here. There are days when you don't want to work out, and there are days that you completely want to work out, probably do it again and again and again. And then lastly, I think just go out and have fun. I mean, as long as you're having fun, sport is all about having fun. There is a certain amount of pain that you will go through because it is, like Abhi pointed out, it's pure endurance. And again, back to it is your diet, because if you treat your body right, it will treat you better when you're out there in the sun or the cold. So yeah, I'm excited. Unfortunately, with whichever week of the lockdown this is, I'm only able to run and cycle. Luckily, I can cycle indoors at home, so that's great. And then in terms of running, running with the mask, that's been quite a nightmare. But I managed to figure out that if you run with a cloth mask, it's okay. And please don't run with the N95 because you're going to pass out somewhere.
Right. So, and I think all of this eventually led you to starting Southfire Sport, right? Which
So actually, there's a twist there. So I actually started Southfire back in 2013. So I told you a couple of questions ago that I bought my first ever bicycle, and so I think this is back in, so this is 2013. I graduated in 2012. I'd gone abroad to work and learn through a bit, and then I'd come back. And obviously, every time you go abroad and you come back, and you tend to put on a lot of weight, or not. There's some lucky people like the man on the other side of the screen who never puts on weight. But yeah, so I was really bored in Bangalore because the only time, at least back then, the only thing I didn't have a lot of friends that were in the fitness space. So the only thing people do in bigger cities are you eat, you drink, and you chill, or you don't do any of it and you sit at home and you be antisocial or you be introvert. And so I was really bored, and so Monday to Wednesday you're busy with work. Friday, Saturday, Sunday you want to travel. Bangalore has so many places you can travel to that aren't too far. They're only a couple of hours drive. Wednesday night was party night. But Thursday night was like this dead day, right? There was not much you could do.
Right.
So a couple of friends and I, including, decided to come together, and I had a digital marketing company back at that point, or at least a startup. It wasn't really a company then, and it was called Southfire. So obviously, calling it Aditya Mendonca Cycle Night is too long, right? And who the hell would attend it? So then we thought about it. I said, okay, let's call it Southfire Cycle Night. It also rhymes, and it's a great hashtag. And hashtagging was was just starting off then. So we said, okay,
Right.
it kind of matches it. Let's start off. So we decided Thursday night to catch up at Lakeview on MG Road.
Mm-hmm.
I think we started off with 7 people, and the event was completely free. It was just word of
Right.
mouth. We put it up on our Facebook page, and we had 7 people that showed up. And
Right.
the idea was that you cycle for 2 hours, between 20 to 25 kilometers around the city, probably stop at different places across different
Right.
neighborhoods, and then come back. The bad part was, I think we started off on an unhealthy initiative because we decided to meet at the ice cream parlor. And before your ride, you started off with ice cream, and then you ended the ride with ice cream, which is terrible, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, we did that. And then the second or third night was the initial days of some Bangalore startup week or something like that. It was called Construct, which the crew from
Yeah.
Jaga,
The youth
Shalu,
hostel.
Sulaiman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like the initial days. So we decided to collaborate with one of their neighborhood events, and we suddenly had 150 people that showed up.
Wow.
And Bangalore didn't
Wow.
have bicycle infrastructure to rent out like you do or Bounce, right? So I was
Right.
like, wow, I didn't know there was so many settlers in Bangalore. And yeah, so we started off like that way, and then we did it every Thursday night, rain or shine. I mean, we were in the middle of a crazy storm was on our cycling. Of course, the
Right.
deal was that everybody wears a helmet. You wear
Right.
bright clothes, not dark clothes, so people can see
Mm-hmm.
you, and you wear
Mm-hmm.
lights. And if you have no helmet, we don't let you ride.
Okay.
And that actually became a huge fight with a lot of people that showed up from all kinds of places, including from
Right.
places like Mysore and Pune to come cycling with us.
Right.
Because
Right.
no helmet, no ride, right? And
Yeah.
then, of course, then we had to start signing waivers and things like that. That if anyone hurt themselves, we wouldn't be held responsible. Because you never know what happens on a Indian road, right? Or any road,
Yeah.
anyone hits you,
Yeah.
it's going to be a terrible time. And we
Yeah.
did kind of have accidents. I think I fallen down a lot also.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
So, but the whole idea was Thursday, Monday to Wednesday you're busy. Friday, Saturday, Sunday you want to chill. Thursday night you meet up. You meet new friends. You explore different parts of the city.
Right.
You take part in a physical sport and you have fun.
Right. Right.
That was the Southwest Cycle Night motto. And then we did, I think we ran it for like 4 years in a row, back to back every Thursday. If I wasn't there, someone else led it. And it was great. It was a great community-based
Wow.
approach.
Yeah.
And it also gave us an insight into in terms of what people like and things like that. So, yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's a very cool and very interesting story. About how you started Southfire and Southfire Sport and things like that. But today I think when having started the lockdown, there are a lot of people who are actually looking at getting bicycles and a lot of people actually choosing to cycle with work, or rather to work. But something I want to talk to you about is I see your Insta stories every day almost, where you are in Cubbon Park every morning and you're running, right?
No, that's just called Bangalore, India. Couple Park is close.
Yeah. I think you're not a Bangalore. You're not running Cubbon Park at least once a month or twice a month. But you start your day off by doing some cardio based exercise, in Cubbon Park or wherever it is. What is, or rather, why is it important to start your day off with something like that? I mean, what does it do? I mean, for all the working professionals who are listening to this, what does exercise at the start of the day do for your metabolism for the rest of the day?
So I personally like doing it. I think last night was terrible. I only slept around 4.5 hours, which is terrible. I know typically we're all supposed to sleep 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
But I barely slept some 4.5 hours. But for me personally, I like waking up in the morning. I'm an unofficial 5 a.m. club. Unfortunately, because of the lockdown, I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. anymore. Waking up at 7:30. I like getting out. Also, with the lockdown, it's the only time of the day I can get out of the house.
Right.
But of course, if you see all my posts, I'm forever in a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And it also boosts your mood. Have you noticed if you're sitting around like how you are, you get up, you just jump up and down, and it changes your mood. which is the best part. And you don't need to run, you don't need to cycle, you don't need to swim. Just get out there and go for a walk, go for a brisk walk. And if you can, I like listening to music and walking, running, because it cuts me out from everything else.
Right.
So yeah, just pop on your favorite podcast or music or listen to this podcast. You're good.
Right.
Okay, so I wanna end this show by asking, or rather asking you to tell all our listeners, one reason why they should take up sports. What does Aditya Mendonca think? Why people
The
should
one
take up
reason is too
sports?
short.
I know one reason is
I
too short, but what is the one thing that you can tell people to motivate them to start playing sports or just getting up and walking? Even if it's just
I
that.
think I think well, I'm still on the heavier side. I think the joke is so okay. Wait, let me keep it short. I think it's really important to go out there and be active because with the coronavirus, it's affecting people's lungs, affecting all kinds of things. Just go out there and stay active because you feel good. So even if you're not an early morning riser, it's okay. But at some point, just do something active, do some breathing
Right.
exercises, do some simple things that I have learned over the past 4 5 weeks in terms of body weight training. You don't need a fancy gym. Something as simple as getting up and down from a chair, right?
Right.
Get up and down. You're kind of squatting, do a burpee. It sucks out all the air from you, but you feel so good once you jump up and down like a monkey. And yeah, I mean, just go. And also, let's try and bring down the level of obesity. I was talking to someone yesterday, and there was an article a
Mhm.
couple of days ago in one of the dailies, released here in Bangalore, that spoke about the lockdown and its effects on young people and how obesity is growing.
Wow.
So
Okay.
let's try and end obesity. Let's try and end people getting chronic lifestyle diseases. Just stay active. Enjoy yourself with a junk meal once in a while, but just stay clean.
Right. Stay clean, stay active, and keep moving. And obviously,
And junk
obesity
food
is.
is okay once in a while, I guess.
You cheat me,
We're
cheat
only
me.
human. Yeah, we're all human, right?
Right. Yeah, fair
Awesome.
enough. Yeah. So I think, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, from wherever you are, from around the world, listening to this, Aditya Mendonca has spoken. This is, I think it's more like a proclamation, where we try to motivate people to take up sport. I think, which is why we brought you on today, Aditya. Thank you so much for being part of this. I think we're definitely going to have you back on season 2 to see to rather delve in a little more into triathletes and triathlons and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you so much for being a part of it, and take care. Stay safe.
Thanks so much, Abhijit. And I think my last parting note to anyone is um, a simple smartphone has a tracker in it. You don't need a fancy watch. Just put your tracker on and track your steps, 10,000 steps a day minimum, and you're good to go.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
All right.